Here's something you've long suspected, but have never heard anyone say. You force a smile in the mirror every morning. The person staring back isn't really you.
Every morning, you put on the same mask. Not a physical mask, but a carefully crafted expression. A way of walking and talking that you know others expect. You straighten your posture, adjust your tone, and present the version of you that the world wants to see. You've done it for so long that even you almost believe it. But when the lights are off and you're alone, the mask slips. That charming grin fades, leaving exhaustion and anxiety in its wake. In the dark, you can admit it. You're tired of pretending, tired of smiling when you feel like screaming, tired of projecting a perfect image when inside you feel broken. This split between the outer you and the inner you is the source of a quiet despair. Outwardly, you meet every expectation. Inwardly, you feel like a stranger to yourself, disconnected and unseen. You've built an identity that pleases others, and in doing so, you've betrayed the truth of your own soul. Psychologist Carl Jung had a name for this outer identity: the persona, the social mask. He wrote that the persona is a kind of mask we wear to make a certain impression on others while concealing our true nature. It's not you. It's a role, a character crafted to navigate society's expectations. From childhood, you learned which parts of you were welcome and which were not. You were praised for certain traits and scolded for others. So you hid the unacceptable parts and accentuated the traits that got approval. Over time, this became your false self-image, a patchwork of social norms stitched together into a mask you call me, no matter how authentic we like to believe we are. Jung observed, our personas can never encompass the totality of who we are. The mask is, at best, a partial truth, a mere representation of your living self. The danger comes when you forget that the mask is not you. You might start to believe you are that polished image. Jung warned that the persona is that which in reality one is not, but which oneself as well as others think one is. In other words, you risk becoming a stranger to your own soul, play acting through life as someone you're not. Many people define themselves by their titles. It's like an actor who has lost himself in the character he plays. When you identify only with the role, your career, your social persona, you lose sight of the human being underneath. You become a hollow costume, all form and no substance. Sometimes the persona isn't just about hiding flaws. It's about creating grand illusions. This is the false self at its most dazzling. We inflate our achievements, project an image of confidence and superiority, all to cover up insecurity. You've seen it on social media. The friend who always seems ecstatic and accomplished. The coworker who never admits a mistake. In this age of performance, everyone is an actor and life is the stage. Most people see themselves through rose-colored glasses. Psychologists call it illusory superiority, a tendency to overestimate themselves. For example, studies have found that the vast majority of people consider themselves above-average drivers. Think about that. Almost everyone thinks they're better than everyone else, a statistical impossibility. It's not just driving. We overrate our intelligence and our luck. The less we know, the more confident we might be. A quirk known as the Dunning-Kruger effect. Incompetent people often brashly overestimate their abilities, precisely because they lack the insight to see their shortcomings. We cling to comforting lies about our superiority to avoid facing uncomfortable truths. On platforms like Instagram and TikTok, this false self finds the perfect playground. You cherry-pick the moments where you look happiest, edit away the blemishes, add filters to smooth out reality. To the world, you broadcast a life of constant joy and success. But you know the full story. You know that between those picture-perfect snapshots are long hours of loneliness, self-doubt, and yearning to be seen. The false self thrives in the spotlight, while the real you remains backstage, alone in the dark. While everyone is busy presenting their highlight reel, everyone else is secretly hurting in the comparison. One survey found that almost half of young adults felt unattractive when looking at their social media feeds, and about 60% felt their own achievements were inadequate compared to others' posts. It's a cruel cycle. Everyone showing off their best selves, and everyone feeling inferior because of it. Our culture encourages the false self. We reward confidence, even if it's fake. We celebrate self-promotion and call it success. Meanwhile, authenticity is treated as a liability. Showing weakness or admitting "I don't know" feels unthinkable, because the collective script says we must always appear strong and in control. And so you play the part, smiling, achieving, posting, hoping that if you do it well enough, maybe it will become true. But it never does. So what is the cost of all this performance? It's not just an abstract moral cost. It's deeply personal and emotional. Living behind a mask is suffocating. A quiet voice inside asks, "What about me? When do I get to be me?" The longer you ignore that voice, the more you feel a subtle loneliness, even in a crowd. Loneliness can creep in even when people surround you. Because if you've never shown your true self, nobody truly knows you. They praise the mask, not the person wearing it. Every "I love you" or "I'm proud of you" directed at your facade only reinforces the emptiness. You wonder if they saw the real you, the messy, imperfect you, would they still care? You can be loved by many and yet feel completely unseen. Then there's the anxiety, the gnawing fear of being exposed. The higher you build your pedestal, the further you fear falling. Perhaps you've had that nightmare where you're standing on stage and suddenly realize you're naked. That's the psyche's fear of the mask being ripped off. Every day that you live as an image, you dread that one slip-up, one revealing moment, will uncover the fraud you believe yourself to be. You live in perpetual tension, bracing for an impact that never comes, until the day it does. This is the tragedy of the false self. Even as you seek love and respect, you can't fully accept it when it comes. Compliments and successes feel aimless, as if they belong to someone else, the character you played, not the real you. Even high achievers often feel like imposters. Research suggests up to 70% of people experience imposter syndrome at least once in their lives. Imposter syndrome is more than just a passing insecurity. It's the private hell of living in dissonance with yourself. You might have a wall of accolades and a life that others envy, yet still fall asleep with the dread that it's undeserved, that it could all crumble if the truth about you came out. So you keep your guard up. You carefully manage what others see, maintaining the illusion. Perhaps you even lie, just a little, here and there, exaggerating some things and omitting others. Each lie, each exaggeration, is a thread reinforcing the mask. And with every reinforcement, the gap between the mask and the self widens. You become trapped in the character you created. Deep down, a part of you is crying out to be seen, truly seen, with all your fears and flaws and peculiarities. But that part is terrified too. After all, you've kept it hidden for so long. It's safer to keep living the lie, isn't it? Safer to wear the mask that gets smiles and nods than to show a face that might get rejection or ridicule. The false self may be suffocating you, but at least it's protecting you from pain. Or so you hope. By now, you might be wondering what lies beneath that mask if you dared to remove it. What would you find if you stripped away the persona, the false smile, the bravado? Beneath the mask is your face, yes, but also something deeper, something in the dark behind your eyes. It's the parts of you that you hide, even from yourself. Jung had a word for this too. He called it the shadow. The shadow is everything you've buried, all the parts of you that you reject. Jung said the shadow is the part of ourselves that we disown, everything we don't want to be. It's the traits you repress to uphold your persona. If your mask is one of kindness, your shadow might hold your anger and aggression. We often think of the shadow as just our bad traits: selfishness, shameful desires, anger, cowardice. And yes, those live there. Jung described the shadow as a hidden, repressed, guilt-laden part of the personality. It is all the things you've deemed unacceptable in yourself. But the shadow isn't only composed of evil or weakness. It also holds aspects of you that you've neglected or undervalued: creativity, passion, unfulfilled potential. Qualities that didn't fit the persona's script get banished to the dark, waiting for you to acknowledge them. The shadow forms for the same reason the persona does: survival. You wanted to belong, to be liked. So you cut away pieces of yourself that society frowned upon. Those pieces didn't disappear. They became your shadow. And as long as you refuse to look at them, they remain in the dark, shaping your life from beneath awareness. A hidden anger might slip out as sarcasm. The shadow leaks through the cracks in your mask, often in ways you don't recognize as your own at first. Perhaps you've noticed that the flaws you can't stand in others are often the very ones you refuse to see in yourself. You might call someone else arrogant, not realizing it's your own unacknowledged pride that's been pushed into the shadows. We project onto others what we won't accept in ourselves. The shadow hides not only within you, but in plain sight, in those who irritate you. Jung warned that ignoring our shadow only gives it more power. He observed that what we deny in ourselves can become the root of problems between individuals. Think of how self-righteous people, convinced of their own goodness, often create misery by crusading against evil out in the world, blind to the evil they haven't faced in themselves. The more you claim you're nothing like those bad people, the more your own unrecognized darkness controls you from the dark. Failing to acknowledge your shadow can stunt your growth. You get stuck in patterns and don't understand why. Maybe you keep sabotaging relationships or fleeing from opportunities, telling yourself, "That's just how I am," or "I don't really care about that anyway." But often, it's your neglected self, your shadow, sabotaging you in ways you don't even recognize. Until you face it, you'll keep tripping over your own darkness without knowing why. Confronting the shadow is no easy task. It's like looking into a mirror in a pitch-dark room, trying to make out a face you've never fully seen. It's terrifying because it means admitting things that shatter your carefully built image. It means accepting that you are not only the good and likable parts of yourself, but also your secrets, your shame, your anger, your fears, even your capacity for wrongdoing. It feels like a death of the ego, and in a way, it is. Yet this confrontation is the birth of something far more real. Jung believed that integrating the shadow is essential to becoming whole. As long as you wear a mask of pure light, you remain half a person, amputated from your darkness. But when you dare to step into the dark and acknowledge, "Yes, that is me too," you begin to reclaim the power and energy that have been tied up in hiding your true self. All the qualities you buried have value once they're acknowledged. Jung noted that the shadow isn't purely negative. It contains normal instincts, creative impulses, and more. Your shadow holds not just your darkness, but also the fire of your authenticity. Even the darkest feelings can transform. The anger you repress can turn into courage, and the vulnerability you hide can become a bridge to deeper relationships. Integrating your shadow is how you finally come home to yourself. It means no more hiding, no more lying to yourself about who you are. The broken pieces you swept under the rug can be gathered and made part of you again. As you accept each piece of yourself, the gap between your false self and your true self shrinks. The mirror starts reflecting something true, not just a pleasing illusion. Imagine being able to drop the mask completely, to show the world your face without fear because you've made peace with every aspect of yourself, good and bad. To stand in the light of day with nothing to hide, knowing that whatever anyone sees is authentically you. You would no longer be at the mercy of others' opinions because they'd be responding to the real you, not a fragile image. Understand, this isn't about abandoning all social graces or spilling your secrets to everyone you meet. It's about inner alignment and honesty. It's about no longer lying to yourself. When you stop lying to yourself, you stop needing to lie to others. You can still be tactful and kind, but you won't be false. Your outer presentation and inner reality start to harmonize. You become one person, not a divided self. Think of the mirror again. For so long, it's shown you a pleasing fiction, but cracks are forming in that mirror now. You can no longer reconcile the contradiction between the smiling mask and the crying soul. The cracks mean the truth is pushing through. The false image is beginning to shatter under the weight of your honest self demanding to be seen. So here you stand, at the edge of that shattering mirror, looking at the pieces. You have a choice to make. Will you pick up the pieces and glue them back into the same lie, patching up the mask for one more day? Or will you let it break and finally see what's beyond, the unknown face that waits behind the fractured glass? Your true face is begging for a chance to live. Now you know that the mask isn't real. So what will you do about it? Keep pretending or finally confront what you've been running from? This is your crossroads. It's terrifying, yes, but it's also an invitation to step out of the false light of the mirror and into the raw, honest darkness and light of reality. Ask yourself, who are you when the mirror cracks and the persona falls away? When you stand with your shadow in full view, who is that person staring back at you? Can you face them? These questions are not comfortable, but they are the gateway to an authentic life. If you don't answer them now, you'll spend the rest of your life as a stranger wearing your own face. The time for hiding is over. You've been asleep behind the mask thinking the performance was life. It's time to wake up. It's time to act, not act as in perform, but act as in take action, to live your truth. Enough of the lies, the posturing, the half-living. Life is too short to spend it as a shadow of yourself. Yes, taking off the mask will hurt. Yes, facing your shadow will scare you. But what is the alternative? To remain in comfortable misery, shackled by a lie. Growth never happens without pain. Change never happens without courage. This is a call to your courage. The courage to be seen completely and to see yourself completely. You might lose people when you become real. Not everyone will embrace the real you, especially if they only loved your mask. But those losses are meant to make space for something far more precious. Genuine connection. The people who stay, or the new ones who come into your life, will be there because of who you truly are. Nothing feels better than being loved without pretense or condition. The mirror has cracked. The mask is falling apart in your hands. The false self is dying, and the true self is stirring awake. This is your moment of truth. What will you do with it? Will you turn away and pretend you saw nothing? Or will you take a deep breath, step through the shattered glass, and meet yourself? Wake up. You have a life to live, and it won't wait for your mask. Enough hiding. The world may not see you clearly at first. It's used to your persona. But that doesn't matter. What matters is that you see yourself clearly, that you step into your own life as the person you truly are, not the phantom of a false dream. Before closing, leave one sentence in the comments. Not a reaction, not a slogan. One brutally honest sentence that marks the moment you stopped lying to yourself. Disappear, live, and when you're ready, come back. I'll be waiting where I always am, on the edge, where it all begins.